Good morning, Bucknutters. We are on time, 9 a.m. Eastern. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5. I'm Dan Rubin. Got a great show coming up for you today. The Dean, Bill Kurelic, and the Grand Poobah, Mark Porter, are here to wrap up what was an incredible official visit weekend, the first of many. But first, let's talk food. Let's talk factor meals. Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Even in the Gem City, it's beautiful today. If you look for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals, meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-created meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved, ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great-tasting meals. There are 35 meals with more than 60 add-ons. Breakfast to dessert. Everything is easy and nutritious. You can treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, blackened salmon. Keep your kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are always ready in just 2 minutes. No shopping, no prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Head to factormeals.com/bucknuts50 and use the code bucknuts50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code bucknuts50 at factormeals.com. Don't forget, 20% off the second month. All right, look who we got. The two of the best in the business are here, replete with information. Anyone who's been on Bucknuts recently knows it was an official visit extravaganza. There were many, many fine prospects on there. We're going to start with one in particular, and we're going to start a little bit closer to home. Anyone who's watched the show in the past month or so knows I've been neglecting Mark early on in the show, and I want to get him involved so he doesn't lose any of his self-confidence. So we're going to start with Bo Jackson today, Bill. I want you to bring us completely up to speed on Bo Jackson. I did hear his real first name is Lamar. So what's his middle name? Michael Jordan? Lamar Jackson. They call him Bo Jackson. Good choices across the board there. Bill, bring us up to speed on his recruitment. It's gotten really interesting. Some really heavy hitters involved, not just the one in this state. And as we do that, those of you fortunate to be premium members saw this yesterday, but Mark has done his video scouting report. So why don't we start with Bill's skinny on the weekend, and then as we get a little into that, we will start to throw some video up there.
Well, Bo did make his official visit to Ohio State this past weekend. It was his second official visit. He had been to Georgia on an official visit during the middle of May. And everybody, that was quite the talk that maybe Georgia was going to come into Ohio and steal Bo Jackson from the Buckeyes. In fact, that was a lot of talk. But I kind of cautioned people, let's wait and see what happens with the Ohio State official visit. And lo and behold, now the talk is Ohio State is in really good shape. Funny how that happens. I had crystal balled Bo to Ohio State back in January and haven't moved that pick. And unless something happens that I don't anticipate when he visits Alabama on his other official visit this coming weekend, unless something happens I don't anticipate, then I think that I won't be changing my pick. I really like how things went with Bo Jackson and his family. They were very impressed with the official visit, and I just think everything that the family saw, did, and heard was very positive for Ohio State. So, that's certainly a big one. Carlos Lachlan, Ohio State's new running backs coach, has done a great job recruiting Bo, and he was recruiting him before he came to Ohio State, so that helped as well.
Mark, let's throw the video up there. There we go. Bo, interesting prospect simply because he goes both ways. I'm not sure of the other guys they're recruiting at running back, how many guys play on both sides of the ball as much as Bo. And you've always kind of wrestled with that. So bring us up to speed and then you've got the pictures to back it up.
Yeah, I think when Bill and I go to see Villa St. Joe's work, we've expected to see him be the featured show at tailback, but he's the featured show on defense for them. And here's a screen pass of him taking it to the house when I saw him against Kenston. But, you think that because he's being recruited as an Ohio State tailback, that's all he does. And that's not the case. He is the mainstay on defense. And I think the way they prioritize their team at Villa St. Joe's is make sure our defense is stacked. So a lot of these clips when I saw him the night, I was playing, it was him playing defense. And this is an unbelievable play where he runs down one of the faster players in Ohio from behind. So if there's any questions about his speed, knock him out right there. But defensively, he shows up so much, and he's got a linebacker's build that's why you wrestle with what is he going to be on defense. He could be a linebacker. He could be a safety. And, when you see him live, that's why. And then they also have a nice scat back at Villa St. Joe's that would be a normal big-time high school running back on any other team. But at Villa St. Joe's, he rotates with Bo. So it's kind of like a thunder and lightning thing. And you'll see that Bo has, even though he's the thunder part of it, there's some lightning to him. Like the breakaway runs on his film, they're repetitive. I mean, here's the swing pass out of the backfield versus Cardinal Mooney. And there's going to be guys over here. Look at the guy over the top by 10 yards, and he has no chance. The guy coming across the middle has the angle. He has no chance. So you watch him blow angles. The whole secondary for St. Vincent St. Mary is slow motion, it looks like, when they turn and try to run with him. So you start to see how fast he actually is out in the open field. I mean, again, he's just making kids look like they're standing still. So when he gets his breath after being on defense, you throw him in on offense and you get plays like this. But he does share the duties. Going into his senior year, I think you'd expect a little more out of him, I think on offense because he's, now going to be a committed tailback at, for college level. But the combination of power and strength he has with that sprinter speed is rare. And you start comparing him to other names like Beanie Wells and Maurice Claret. We saw Raymond Harris thrown out there. We've seen some other big back names. And he's 205 pounds now, maybe a little more. And it wouldn't be hard to think that he got to 220 pounds in college and became that full three-down player where you don't have to take him out. You see him catching the ball out of the backfield. You see the speed that goes with it. You see the power for first and second down. And you want that bruiser between the tackles. The other thing you like about him is he runs in the zone running scheme in high school. And if you follow Ohio State, they run the zone running scheme to death. So it's going to be a pretty seamless fit when he comes in and stands in the backfield. He's a downhill one-cut runner where when he sees the crack, he hits the north and south button and he goes. The thing that, when we say development, he can't stop his feet in the backfield. He's a bigger back, so when he slows down, it's not like a jitterbug. He gets right back to speed in a step or two. But as he, starts that build up, and once he hits that cup, you see he's at full speed. So that's the style he brings to the table.
He looks to me like a faster, more explosive Trey Sermon, if I was going to give you a name that he reminds me of. Bill, just to finish up on Bo right now, you've already said you still expect him to be a Buckeye. It's fair to say that Georgia and Alabama are also recruiting him as a running back.
Yeah, everybody's recruiting him as a running back, and he had told me, one of the early times that I saw him that he is a running back, and that's what he wants to play in college. Last time I saw him in person, which was not too long ago, a month ago or whatever, I kind of joked with him, Bo, I've come to your games the last 2 years, and each time I show up, I see you carry the ball 4, 5, maybe times a game. Will this be the year that I finally come to your game and I see you carry the ball 15 or 20 times? He kind of indicated, yeah, this will be the year. I'm going to carry the ball. And hopefully that'll happen. But, I see him each time I go to see him play. I see him play a lot on defense, most of the game, really, and sparingly on offense. But I cross my fingers here, hoping that this is the year that he carries the ball 20, 15, 20, 20-plus times that I see him in person. But as you saw on Mark's film, you don't need to see him in person watching that videotape and those highlights to see the dynamic impact he can have at running back.
I know the fans are of this show are big fans of me repeating stuff, but if you have offers to play running back from Georgia and Ohio State, you're likely among the best running backs in the country, guaranteed. Okay, let's stay in Ohio. You'll see a state vibe going here as we review these prospects. I'm not sure this guy hasn't been the most ascending. I don't know if that's proper English, but from Ohio, and that's Justin Hill. It's kind of becoming a theme here that your guys in these two boxes, not me, tell you about these guys well in advance, and then eventually the national people come around. Justin Hill. Sounds like everybody's into him now, Bill. Thoughts about his visit, and then Mark, your view of him as well.
Yeah, he had a great visit, no doubt about it. Ohio State sees him as their prototype jack position guy. Rush off the edge, play with your hand down, also stand up, just get after the quarterback. And that is, when I've seen him in person, that is exactly what he does. It is all out. I'm getting to the quarterback, or if the running back happens to have the ball, I'm getting to him in the backfield. But it's not just the jack position. From what I'm told, they did a great job of detailing how he could be used and used perfectly in Jim Knowles' offense, whether it be play the jack position or play as a linebacker. I was on the 247 Sports show yesterday afternoon, and I said, well, maybe he could sell popcorn at halftime. Probably he can do it all. He is a complete defensive player, and I think they did a great job of selling him, showing him, telling him, this is how you fit in Jim Knowles' defense, and you fit perfectly, and you are the guy that we want for that position. And it couldn't be a better mutual fit between the two. I have had Bo in the class every time I've done my feature on that, and I haven't changed one bit. I still have him in the class. Now, that was just his first official visit. Bo's going to take his other official visits before he makes his decision, and that decision is, he told me this long ago, I'm not announcing a decision until and exactly on my birthday, which is July 3rd.
It will be cause for celebration the next day. Mark, no Ohio bias here, or is this guy legit?
No, this guy has no Ohio bias. You wouldn't have to have a love for Ohio to love him. He would, if you put him in a uniform down in Florida or Texas or California, he'd be the same thing. As Bill was talking, and he said, Coach Knowles was going to use him at all these different spots. All Coach Knowles had to do was watch this highlight film, and he would see him do all of those different things, standing up in the middle, so you get a look at what he would look like at middle linebacker, blitzing, and coming off the edge the last two plays. You see the way he attacks the ball carrier. What happens with these long bodies like this is when you get them, what makes them special is their ability to do different things. Some of these long bodies don't drop back in the coverage. Oh my, he just goes right by that tackle like there's nobody there. You don't get them to drop out in pass coverage, where Justin Hill has the type of body and type of game where he can come off the edge, as you're seeing in these plays here, splitting bubble teams. But the next couple plays or down the road, he'll be back in coverage, almost like a safety, and doing those type of things where when you're an offensive guy and you're doing the X's and O's that week going into the game, and you see him in the defensive X's and O's, it's really hard to count him as an assignment that's going to be one or the other. He lets you do so many different things. The pass rushing ability is special. He really brings something to the table there. And then you see stuff like this where look at the speed of him chasing down a tailback from behind. We just watched the tailback Bo Jackson run away from everybody. No one chased Bo Jackson down from behind like this kid just did. So there's the special speed. You see the explosive burst in the pass rush. So he is that unicorn type player where he can do so many different things. And boy, that's schematically in college, you need to be multiple. You need to be able to hide things. And he lets you hide things. Sometimes there's players that we know this kid's always a pass rusher. We know this kid always drops. We know if he pass rushes, not to worry about him. He's not a factor in the pass rush. this kid is a factor in whatever he does.
And a couple things real quick that I had on Justin. That film or that clip that Mark had of him running down the guy. I was at that game, and I was at the end of the field away from where the tackle went. So I kind of watched that place from the sideline, close to where Justin was, and I saw the guy go by downfield, and then I saw Justin start the chase. And I watched it all the way down the field until he caught up with the kid. I said, whoa, it was a wow highlight seeing him chase that kid down. And not only the speed, but just the desire. He saw that kid way ahead. And he said, I'm going to catch that guy. And he did. It was very impressive. And by the way, I said he's going to make his visits. Well, his next 3 visits, his last 3 visits, in order are to USC, Alabama, and Oregon. I am going to kind of predict, though, that as we go through those visits, people are going to things are tightening up, and maybe they will tighten up. But I still like Ohio State in this one.
Everyone who knows me, go ahead.
I like how Bill brought up how he imposes his will, and when I watch film, I love when you can see the body language of a player on film, which in basketball, you see their faces. In football, you see their body language with energy, desire, finishing, nastiness. You can see those traits by the way they finish plays, tackle people, finish blocks. And Bill said it. You can see his desire to make plays on film. I mean, he's going after people with a hunger in his veins to get there. And that comes off on his tape. You feel the extra effort out of him. And I think that's a good play that illustrates that, where he could have very easily jogged into that backfield and seen that player take off the other way and have a 10 or 15-yard head start and said, hey, see you guys next play in the huddle. Where no, his energy is turn and burn, and let's make a play here. And boy, that's one play we'll remember on him.
Jason Craven asks, any pro comps for Hill? I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here. But if you look at the way, first of all, he's by far the best player at Winton Woods, even though they have a lot of talent. So the week before the Winton Woods opposition is scouting him heavily. So the ability to move him around, rush from the middle, rush from the edge, play all the positions, be able to run everybody down from behind is a lot like Micah Parsons and the way he's used with the Cowboys. That's what that video looks like. I am in no way saying Justin Hill will be Micah Parsons. That would be quite excellent, but that's what that looks like. He also has a knack for when he gets there, like you guys were saying, he's in a hurt, like the werewolf factor. He's a turnover waiting to happen on impact. He's there before you think he's going to get there, and the ball isn't secure, and it comes flying out. So he's just an absolute stud. I'm very happy he's from Ohio. All right. Before we move on to guys from other states, let's get you guys some food here again. Right on. All right. With Father's Day right around the corner, what you give guys like this, the guys you see on screen, the men who have everything, easy. Give him an experience he'll never forget. You give him Omaha Steaks because a world-class dad deserves a world-class steak. The Father's Day experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to put a smile on the big guy's face this summer with hand-selected gift packages starting at just $89. Just go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code Bucknuts at checkout for an additional discount when you shop gourmet gift packages for Father's Day. Go to omahasteaks.com and use the promo code Bucknuts to get an exclusive savings. Shop for unforgettable gifts that are guaranteed to make Dad's day. Because if there's one thing Omaha Steaks knows, it's that dads want steak. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code Bucknuts at checkout to save on exclusive packages starting at just $89. All right. Brass tacks. I realize that's a strong comp, but I must give you an open insight into my brain, and that's what I thought. And I also want to have – go ahead.
I think you clearly said that he's used like Micah Parsons.
Right.
Not like – I mean, I think if you were to compare him to Micah Parsons might be a half step or a step faster. That's how special Micah Parsons is. And then that's not a knock on anybody. Micah Parsons is a step faster than most guys in the NFL, or a half step faster than most guys in the NFL. So saying that is not a knock on Justin Hill, but the way Micah Parsons is used multiply, and he seems to be the rage right now, and the name that everyone would like to find guys like that. But he is the most special player doing that we compare to. But you're right, that film is the JV, what you would look like in high school. Now Justin Hill maybe could get a half step faster and close a little of that gap on being the number one player drafted in the NFL, like Micah Parsons, or that type of first round draft pick or coveted player. But yeah, that role is the role that just really screws up offensive coordinators. The multiple hide a guy. I mean, Micah Parsons plays defensive tackle sometimes. I think they line him up literally everywhere. He's special.
Yeah, I mean, they put him in the over the center, and he's standing up, but essentially he serves as the nose tackle, and two guys still have to pick him up. You know what I'm saying? Even though he's 240, 245. Yeah, very, very impressive. Very impressive. I'll tell you this: if you get your Google machine out, there is tape out there of Micah Parsons running in looks like an NFL superstar thing, and he beats Tyreek Hill in a sprint. So I'm not saying he's faster than Tyreek Hill, but good gracious. All right, Bill, next state up, Texas. 4 big-time visitors, 4 very interesting recruitments. I got a feeling this show is going to go longer than usual, as we are on state 2 at the 21-minute mark. We do have the guys in charge here. Give us the names, Bill. Just go through in order, the 4 guys. Take one off the top, and we will follow.
And if you have a second, let's watch Micah Parsons race Tyreek Hill for a second.
Okay.
You can't tease that and then not cue it up here.
Do it.
I mean, that's just, yeah, there you go.
Nick Chubb's in there too, by the way.
Yeah. Impressive. Okay, you can. Your digression is over. Yeah.
Ask and you shall receive. That was wonderful.
That's why he is the grand poobah.
Exactly. He is.
You can't invoke that type of speed and then not prove it to the Bucknutters. That is impressive.
That is. I mean, you could make an argument he's the best defensive player on planet Earth right now. So that's a lofty, lofty goal. Yep. William, back to Texas. Speaking of speed, why don't we start with, I think, probably the most well-known name of the group, Dakorien Moore.
Yeah, the 4 Texans were Dakorien Moore, of course, the number 1 wide receiver in the country, Riley Pettijohn, an elite linebacker, Dalen McCutcheon, another wide receiver, and the other Texan was Henry Fanuku, a guard from the Lone Star State. So those were the 4 Texans, and they're all very good, ranging from very good to fantastic. The interesting thing that I thought with Dakorien Moore, the neat thing, I think I saw earlier in the show that Deetra Sanchez is here today, and that is always a good thing. But the interesting thing for me for that visit was that Devin Sanchez and his mom and dad, Deetra and Daniel, were all at Ohio State this past weekend. Originally, unbeknownst to Dakorien Moore and his family, they didn't know that the Sanchez's were coming to Ohio State. They didn't know that until they saw them at Ohio State over the weekend. I thought it was kind of a surprise thing, and I thought that was really pretty cool. So you had the Sanchez family, mom, dad, and Devin, making the trip up to Ohio State to be at Ohio State and help recruit Dakorien. Dakorien didn't set the record for most family there, but he had a pretty decent showing. 6 were there. You had Dakorien and 5 other family members, including his mom, MJ, or Marjan, who is a wonderful lady as well. And then Marjan had an aunt there. And one of the biggest things I took out of the visit after the fact that the Sanchez's were there was that when they got done with the visit, his mom told me, Dakorien's mom told me that when they visited unofficially a little while back, she didn't think it could get any better than that. But it did get better than that on the official visit. And they went home, MJ and Aunt, saying, hey, if you want to go to Ohio State, we'll sign off on this. They were sold on Ohio State. So it is now the ball, so to speak, is in DeCorian's court. He's got the blessing from his family that if he wants to be a Buckeye, that they're on board. DeCorian will, though, make the final decision. But it's always great to get the blessing from your family. As far as Riley Pettijohn, I think Ohio State did very well. I know they did very well with him. But I still think it's going to come down to Texas and Ohio State. He has a Texas official visit to go, so we'll see how that visit goes. Dalen McCutcheon's visit went very well. He's going to take the rest of his visits, and we'll see how that all turns out. And then finally, Henry Fanuku. That visit went extremely well. Henry told me that even though he's got either 4 or 5 more official visits to take, right now Ohio State is the leader. They are the school to beat, and they are recruiting him, by the way, strictly as a guard. Their 2 center guys for this class are Caden Strayhorn, who visited Ohio State this past weekend, and the other center that they're recruiting is going to make his official visit to Ohio State this weekend, Andrew Stargell. Those are the 2 guys at center. Fanuku is being recruited by Ohio State strictly as a guard.
Though he is probably used to Dietrich drawing a lot of the attention, Daniel Sanchez is always in the chat today and is communicating. So let's spread the love around here.
Thing.
He's used to it, I'm sure. Anyone who outkicked the coverage with their wife knows that she's getting top billing. So anyway, Keith Lakes. Is McCutcheon related to a former NFL player by the same name? I wonder if he means Lawrence McCutcheon, former running back for the Los Angeles Rams the first time around. So that was
Dalen
cool.
McCutcheon.
I'm sorry?
Dalen McCutcheon is the wide receiver. He is at Lucas Lovejoy High School, where current freshman linebacker Peyton Pierce is from. So when Dalen came up this weekend, he did spend time with Peyton Pierce and heard very positive things.
So there was a question on there about Takorian Moore and the Sanchez's, and Daniel says, Moore, great young man and even better ball player. He is something else. That is like that real speed. I talked about, the freshman at Wayne, Jameer Brown. Our guy's faster as a senior. All right, Bill. Henry Fanuku is one of the names I think I'd like you to go a little bit deeper into, just because I don't think many people know about him. That's not a name we've talked about tremendously. Big dude. Pushing 300 pounds already. I think he goes to McKinney in Fort Worth, which is big-time football. When did he kind of come on the radar? He hasn't been a guy we knew quite as well.
He's 6'4", 295-pounder, played predominantly guard his junior season for North Crowley. He has that nastiness on the field that you like to see. He wants to win every battle, and he has a nasty attitude, and that is a good thing. The schools that Ohio State is contending with are Ole Miss. He made an official visit there. I don't think he's going to end up there because he already made that official visit, and he says Ohio State is above them. Then he's got Texas Tech. In fact, he's making an official visit to Texas Tech this week right now, as a matter of fact. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday visit. He then has Missouri over the weekend coming up, Georgia, their team there, Dan, June 14th, Texas A&M, June 21st, and then he would like to squeeze TCU in at the end of the month sometime. He is talking about making a late June or early July decision, but as I said, he flat out told me Ohio State is number 1 on his list, but he still does have at least a couple key official visits, Georgia and Texas A&M.
Mark, you've got the video up there. It looks to me like he carries his weight pretty well.
Very well. And I love when a guard is used as a point of attack player, meaning when they run to the left side behind him, they run right up his butt. And when they run to the right side, you see him pulling across the screen to the right side and either trapping or leading up through the hole. If I had a lineman like this, I would use him and lead me all over the field. Bill said it. You can see the body language of nastiness and finishing right out of the gate here. That's one of the first qualities in an eye. Look how he just finishes the kid 10 yards downfield and the feet keep running. And then Dan nailed the other quality. He's an athlete. He's on his feet. He's staying with these guys and running. You don't see the big, heavy belly, pulling them down at all or being top heavy. Looks like he is an athlete in a big man's body. And again, you could use him on zone. You could use him on power. Pretty versatile display here of what he can do. And the pulling is what's really shows off what an athlete he is. He's running around and really making plays and locating targets on the run. You don't see him like a lot of big guys would have trouble breaking down on these targets and, slowing their feet down and getting in position. It seems like it's just a natural. He fits up really well with them for being a big guy. So you see the power, you see it all there, complete package out of Texas.
Yeah, Bill, Mark, you said that. Like at the last second when the guy tries to move out of the way of the huge oncoming train, he doesn't seem to be jolted. He just kind of sits down and drops the guy. He just seems very alert. I don't know if I've never said that before. He just seems like a sharp guy. And I don't know if you can make that.
He makes that look
easy.
Yeah, it's a very easy thing for him to do. It's not like you see him struggle or try to find the guy. And that really is run at someone as fast as you can. And when they move at the last second, try to put your body on them still. It's really a hard thing to do.
Yeah, now put on 180 pounds of weight and try and do it. Even harder. Physics gets involved there, the earth and science, which not good for me. Sports.
He's overcoming science right now.
He is. He's a scientific marvel. All right, Bill, we'll be here for an hour if we don't get going here. Florida, also shocker, had some visitors. The best of the best. Please highlight.
Vernell Brown, wide receiver. And the other one was Caden Strayhorn, who I mentioned earlier. Ohio State's recruiting Caden as a center. Caden, I think we'll go with Caden first. His visit did go well, but he has, as scheduled right now at least, 2 more scheduled official visits. And the big one to keep in mind is Michigan, June 21st, because he is from Michigan. He's from Novi, Michigan, and matriculated down to play for Bradenton IMG. Then Vernell Brown, we've talked about him a whole lot. Really great player. And it was a really great visit that he had at Ohio State this past weekend. I think Ohio State right now, as they have been in my mind, is the school to beat. But you do have to be a little concerned that his other 3 visits are all to the big Florida schools, Florida State, Miami, and Florida. Don't think he ends up likely at Florida, but those other 2 schools are going to do a whole lot to try to change his thinking on potentially being a Buckeye.
But we also had some commitments in town. Obviously, they helped recruit and got a chance to wallow in their commitment. Your thoughts on those guys?
Well, Tarvos Alford, talking about the Florida kids, he made his official visit. And I think Ohio State did as much as they could to solidify his commitment to stay with the Buckeyes. But again, he has said all along he's going to take those official visits just to make sure, coaching changes or whatever, that he has done his homework so that after the season is over, he doesn't have to do any more homework. The other one that made an official visit, Deshaun Stewart, the safety from New Jersey, he is 100% Ohio State. And then I should mention the unofficial commitment visitors. Mentioned the Sanchez family, but Eli Lee was there too. And Eli was, I should say that Tavian St. Clair also was there. Both of those guys, this is, I think, great. Both those guys plan to be at Ohio State, I think, every weekend for official visit help. And that's pretty neat in my opinion.
No question. Especially when one of those guys is becoming, he's already Tavian St. Clair, number 2 guy overall in the class. And I will be upset if he's not the number 1 guy to finish. We've got a funny video.
And Tavian's official visit, by the way, is June 21st. That the last weekend will be his official visit. And Eli Lee's official visit, and I see Dietrich Sanchez said that they got to meet the Lees, who were great people. Eli Lee's official visit is this coming weekend, and then he also plans to be back the 14th and the 21st as well to help out. By the way, Eli Lee, I mentioned this in my story on Eli Lee yesterday. He's up to 6'3", and he is now up to 230 from his junior weight of 215. And as Eli and I talked about, you're in the Hoban program, and that is 15 pounds of muscle that he has put on. He's not sitting around eating ho-hos. He's putting on the muscle in the Akron Hoban program.
Bill, ho-hos.
That goes a ways back.
You dated yourself a little bit there.
I did.
You dated yourself. That's hilarious.
I tell you what, the ho-hos from the 80s are not the same as the ho-hos in 2024. And same with the Twinkies. They definitely changed those things. What was in my lunch 30 years ago is not what they're selling. The sugar is not as good or whatever's going on. So
I'll tell you what, those Twinkies, they were in your lunch 30 years ago. They're still in your stomach.
Still work, yeah.
You know what I mean? They're still in there. Those things are not biodegradable, I don't think. Good Lord.
I mean, are you a Swiss cake guy or a ho-ho guy? Do we need
I
to
was
get
a
into
Hostess apple pie guy. Those things that were like, literally, I think you got a cavity every time you bit into it because it was like glazed. Oh, my God. If I had two of those right now, I would have to take a nap and I would feel terrible.
The show has now officially gone off the rails.
Oh, it's going farther off the rails.
Ding dongs. Teacher knows where it's at. After you run a track race, doesn't mean sugar intake. Go for some ding dongs. I'll tell you that much. Good gracious. All right. I completely lost my train of thought.
We got one more.
I'm hungry now.
We go down rabbit holes. Let's show them the Micah Parsons versus sumo wrestler video.
Okay, time out.
Let's
Twinkies. Talk about
fried
Twinkies.
You're
lucky you weren't struck by lightning if you ate that. That's incredible. I've never even heard of stuff. I've never even heard of that. Although I have heard of deep fried Oreos, and even when I think of it, it kind of makes my brain hurt. It's just like overload. All right. Gracious. Since we're already on the comical aspect, before we do that, before we get to Micah Parson sumo wrestler video, Bill, the official visits don't end. Believe it or not, Ohio State has more recruits coming in this weekend. Can you give us maybe the highlights? I don't mean to ambush you there as your eyes dart around for information, but do you have a few names that people can look forward to so that we can maybe move on to like salty treats next week?
Fahim Delane, yeah, that's a big one coming. It's supposed to come in this weekend for an official visit. And a guy that I think is really underrated, maybe under the radar a little bit, is Quincy Porter, the wide receiver from New Jersey. I absolutely can see him being a member of this class. He's a kid that maybe we don't mention enough. Another kid that I can see being in this class very easily is Trajan Odom, the defensive lineman from North Carolina. He makes his official visit this weekend. We mentioned Eli Lee. Javon McFadden, he was going to make his official visit to Ohio State this past weekend and moved it back. And he's a guy that when I've done my in-out feature, again, for months, I've said I've had Javon McFadden in the class. Andrew Stargell is another one. So, the Jackson Lloyd, by the way, offensive tackle from California, he's another one. And you got some that's not everybody, but you got some commitments. Nate Roberts, the tight end, who's committed to Ohio State, makes his official visit, and Desi Jones. So, I go on and on. But before we get to that, we would be remiss if we did mention what tomorrow is. And I'm not talking about Mark or my or your birthday, Dan.
Good.
Tomorrow is the opening day of camps. June 5th is the first Ohio State one-day camp of the summer. And Mark and I believe Pat Murphy will all be there covering that camp. And it's going to be the usual, a lot of great prospects at that camp. And we'll be there covering it tomorrow.
So, Bill, this will be one of those camps where tons of college coaches come in, or is just the Ohio State ones?
It'll be other coaches too, and
Okay.
I'll let Mark talk about that. But the smaller schools will be there with bells and whistles and all that. But go ahead, Mark.
Hold on a sec. Before you say that, I've been to one of these before, and the sun was shining. It was unbelievable. They filled up every single field they have there with eager recruits. It was also the day, and then what they do is they bring in the apples of their eye into the field there, and they have them run. Like the day I was there, this is who they brought in. Believe it or not, the number one guy there was Eric Glover Williams. Okay. There was a receiver there who ran, and they told him, I don't think so. you're going into your senior year. We want you to go home and be better as a senior and get an offer. His name was Terry McLaurin. The other guy running routes was Paris Campbell. And I remember someone behind me yelling, he's only 16. He's only 16. Paris was as young as you get. And the guy they didn't get out of there that they wanted was Mike Gesicki, the tight end, he's with the Dolphins. He does the gritty,
He's with the Bengals.
He's with the Bengals now. I believe he started out with the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Patriots,
but he was a stud, went to Penn State, Jersey kid. So you will see some stars there. Here's another thing I remember. Who was the linebacker from Cincinnati that went and played at Indiana and started for 4 years at middle linebacker? He was a stud. He didn't even get a look. That's what I remember. There were so many good players there that it's a tough crowd. So
might have been the Coleraine middle linebacker.
I'll get his name before we get while you go and tell us about Micah Parsons. Although if you tune in today, did you expect to get stuff on fried Twinkies and Micah Parsons wrestling sumo guys? No, but here goes Mark.
You know, if you want to show off how good you are, you race the cheetah, which is Tyreek Hill, and then genetically you go to the other end of the spectrum and you take on a sumo wrestler. I mean, what are two different human beings in a sumo wrestler and Tyreek Hill? And you're going to show off that I'm a guy that can go on either end of this spectrum and go race cheetah or take on the big guy. I think that's a fun digression or a rabbit hole to go down to with Micah Parsons since we're using him as a comparison. But wow, I mean, what a genetic freak as a human being when you can go to those ends of the spectrum with your skill set. I think that's as rare as it gets in the NFL there. And this sumo wrestler doesn't look like someone who's been eating as many Twinkies and Ho-Hos as some of the guys on Bucknuts, but that's a pretty big human being over there. I think Dan's we lost.
I can't find the name. It's driving me crazy. Does anyone have it in here on the side?
That
would be
we'll
really
probably find it as soon as we go off the air.
Oh, I will. I can get it. He was a stud though. The Furbush, the guy from Ohio who went to Notre Dame, he was there. Noah Furbush, and he didn't even get a look too. So it's tough to get one. But what we have to look forward to is coverage all tomorrow. And then how about we do a show on Thursday just to kind of wrap it all up? Oh, yeah, we already do that. So that should work beautifully. 42 minutes. That's 7 free minutes of content for you guys, and we're not going to make you pay for it. We appreciate the Dean and the Grand Poobah stopping by. Have a good one.